what? You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And for some reason, it just got me itty bitty. I was trying to figure out what in the world is going on. No, but just having itty bitty here. But nevertheless, this Saturday kind of snuck up on me. But it is time once again for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I am your host, Joe D. McPhee, and we got some things to kind of talk about. Maybe a little bit the celebration is in order, but not really. But still a lot more work to be done. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get in and get out here. So first thing here, we always have to do the business end. Stupid O'Clock does happen 1 hour into our show if we go into our second hour. And then that's followed up by Last Man Standing. Then you get a respite until Monday for Nicholas Tucker, and never mind the furthermore at 10 a.m. Monday on Eastern Standard Time, or it should be Eastern Daylight this time around because we're now officially in daylight savings time. And let's not forget about Thursdays here, right here on this channel where we do Comic Book Spectrum, where we pretty much, sit around, talk about all the stuff that is happening in geek culture and review some comic books here. So with that being stated here, should we go ahead and do it? Should we do it? Should we do it? I think we should. Ooh, we got more people here. So let me go ahead out to the interactive part of our show here. We got our normal crew here saying that they're ready for duty. And we got Mr. McKell in the house here. Yep, there he is. And I guess it is that time once again, because it is that time in the week that we come together and we kind of celebrate a couple of things here. Why? Because there is new comic book pickups for the week here. So this one will actually start out with a video right about now. Well, folks, here it is. It's finally here. Pack 3. So this is the third pack, the third and final pack here. We're about to go ahead and do the unboxing. This is the thing that I don't like when I have the box cutter instead of the scissors. But it went through it, almost went through it like paper, but I cut it just right here. So we're about to see what we got and put it in Mylar right now. Oh well, we got another Cap 6 version. No, this is Cap 3 version. And I was right, Cap 6 version. And Prism Cap 25. This will be going on WhatNot. Prism. As well as the other versions here. So let me grab my last of the My Lights because I've been saving My Lights. I got more My Lights coming. But yes, these are going to be on my WhatNot sales and they will be sold. A Prism cap. That is weird. That is just so weird. A prism cap. Wow. But that's the cap pack here. In addition to the cap pack from the seller that I bought this from, I ended up getting this right here. It's Wonder Woman 126 here. So I got that as well. But that is the final cap pack. We're taping this up right now in the Mylar. So we got the prism cap, the prism cap 25 to recap. Let me go ahead and put the tape on the Mylar for we can keep it nice and pretty and safe. And what's weird is I already did the CGC notification, the CGC order for C2E2. Here is the version cap 6. So I got an extra version cap 6 that's going to be on WhatNot here shortly. And Sam Wilson cap 3 version. So I had two versions of this, two versions of cap 6, and you saw the other two golds here, and now I got a prism cap 25. So not bad at all this time around. Not bad at all. And that's pretty much it. Back to the studio for the rest of new comic book pickups for the week. And that's about right, because why? Just as a recap here, there is the Sam Wilson Captain America #3 version again. This is what? #2. There's a third one, but we get to that in a second here. But that's the one that came out of the pack. And there is the prismatic Captain America 25 here, where Sam Wilson becomes the new Cap officially here. And the prismatics picks up very well in the camera for some reason. Those are actually going to WhatNot here. There is the 126 here, as a certain person was calling it the pre-Kennedy Wonder Woman. And you think that this is the only Wonder Woman that came in this week? Who's going to take some bets? Who's going to take some bets here? I don't know. It depends on how much of a betting person it is here. To a greater degree, this is how I feel about the Hulk / Cap packs here. It's really for those who. It's more for those who wants a jumping on point to collecting comics. For people like you, me, and Matthew McHale and Tori, who happen to jump in just right about now, we have the original issues. These are technically, variants and reprints of what we already have. So it doesn't make or break us one way or the other. So I get why you say exactly that here and laugh behind it. Yep. What do you mean no? What do you mean no? You saying you're going to bet that is a no? Beanie says more onesies. The Marvel 2024 pack, yeah, because a lot of it was to me is a lot of them are really well. What makes the Marvel 24 different is that these were variants of things that came out either that month or the month before, unlike the Hulk packs, which have been several years since these books have been out there, and they up here talking about, oh, these are new books. It's like, no, technically they're reprints. You can't call them facsimiles because they got different advertisements there. They're trying to play it off as variants because of the simple fact that this was primarily packaged up for WhatNot. And it's just weird how they do that here. We're going to find out in a second here. We haven't got that far. All reprints. Yep. Lil says that's like there are 2 more 1Ds and 1 newer 1D. Y'all trying to play this guessing game. It's going to be awesome because I know the actual answer to that question here. Yeah, overpriced, crappy reprints with 90s gimmick covers that in 10 years will be worth $7. Yep, I kind of agree with that here. If they ever make an all Spidey or all Wonder Woman packs, it's like I'll buy a pack. I'm not going to lie here. That's true. And the only reason I bought 3 is because everybody wanted me to sell them, and I'm up here like, nah, I'm not going to sell them. And then I thought about it, it's like, if I pick up a pack or two, let me see if I could make some money off of it. And so far, the survey says, I struck out on it so far. Yeah, don't buy into the Dubro hype, Tory. Get good 1D books. Yeah. So those were the first 4. Those were the first 4 for new comic book pickups for the week here. We're going to start out with the evil ones. Well, I'm not going to call him the evil one. The one that I can't stand version of 1D number 18. We got another variant of her versus Cheetah again. We got finally the last issue of Birds of Prey Volume 1. I did not have this before. One of my favorite X-Men books of all time, X-Men 191. And no, that's not getting sold like the other ones here. Now, it turns out that I may have another copy of this in storage, but according to CLZ, I did not have one. But this is Uncanny X-Men 530 and 527. I don't know why all of a sudden CLZ was saying that I was missing like 3 from volume 1. I was like, no, I should have all of them. But, just to be on the safe side, we just, making certain that we cover all bases here. There is Storm story issue number 2 from the most recent series. We got G.I. Joe 314, courtesy of, as Parallax would say, Curly Q. But the rest of my stuff from him came through. The variant here for the Unlikable Ones version of Wonder Woman issue number 15, that variant came in. Another copy of Godzilla versus Chicago. We got Absolute Wonder Woman number 5, this variant cover, and the actual A cover for issue 5. And then issue 18, the variant with Nubia from the Person Who I Don't Like version. And I kind of like how this cover is for issue 18. That's a nice cover. Too bad it's not on a worthwhile Wonder Woman book. And there it is again, the whole Diana Cheetah deal. And then I was talked into this by, as Parallax says, Curly Q, because it is Big Barda. New Gods number 3, with Big Barda being prominently featured in the cover. And then we got this version of Storm number 2, this variant for Storm 2. It's supposed to be a replica of Marvel 2-in-1 with Storm. Storm as a focus. And then the other variant of Storm here. And then the same variant again. Because I was like I said, I go to different comic book stores and pick some of the stuff up here. And then when the stuff comes from Arkansas, where the people who pull my regular stuff shows up, it's kind of like, oh, cool, I got instant doubles. I don't have to worry about going out and getting duplicates. And there's the actual second copy of the A cover, because I got another one back there. I still have to read the full run. A Beanie, I got another one. This one might get graded too. But I got another one, Beanie. And this is number 3. This is the Cap 6 version again, number 3. So yeah, these Cap Packs books, they're going to get sold because I don't need them. I honestly don't need them. But that one was a giveaway. That was a giveaway that I won. So how many? So who's been keeping count? How many Wonder Woman books have I gone through? A lot of them has been. A lot of them has been modern Wonder Woman here. I'm going back to the things here. It's like I got that a few days ago. Yep. Yeah, I started to get my pull. Oh, okay. See, but again, that's like down the street and around the block from you. You got one of the bigger ones that you don't have to worry about it. As long as you give them big bags of money, they will pull your stuff and they'll be happy. Nimwad. I love that store cover. Are you going to? No, because they didn't do Wrigley Field. They actually. I'm not going to ruin it because there's a reason for it, but I'll explain later. Yeah, that is a good cover, and yep, like Curly Q, and Isaac needs to sell. Yep, they do. CBSN is what it is. I don't particularly care for a lot of their policies, but there's still too many good sellers there that should be branching out on their own. The thing about all the regulars on CBSN would follow them, and they would unlock all of us non-CBSN and block people. Yep. Bean says you cheated because you got all the covers. Did I? I didn't get all of them. I got only the ones that were somewhat important to me. That is. They pulled it, they gathered it, they mailed it to me at the end of the month. Cool. So, where we left off. This book should remind you of something. This one right here should remind you of C2E2 last year. And I got this one for about $10 less than what I got for C2E2 from Parallax's favorite place of all time, Mile High Prices. In that book, that's $199, people. Wonder Woman 199. So hopefully you've been keeping count here. So it's been more than two. It's been more than two. It's been a whole bunch of modern, but that's another one of the older ones here. Let's see what we got here. This is Spirit number 13 from the kitchen sink version of the comic. X Factor 48, which was one that I was missing, I believe. Another series that I've been slowly collecting because, again, I don't want to pay the exorbitant price to get a full run. So I've been kind of like going through like people's dollar bins or dollar shows or $2 shows to get them. But we got Promethea number 6. I already talked about this book on Comic Book Spectrum. Asa the Barb number 1. This is a different cover for Asa the Barb. We got another copy of Dr. Spectrum 1. Another copy of Give Me Liberty Book 1. Miles, yeah. Cheaty. Mile High Prices. Oh, yeah. Miles High Prices. Yep. Give what to you? Give what to you? Give what to you here? Oh, this one I'm going to do like this because it's a full set here. I ended up getting the full run of Milk Wars. So we have the beginning with the Justice League of America and Doom Patrol, which is followed up by Mother Panic and Batman. but it's part of the series. Then we got Shade, the Changing Girl, and Wonder Woman. Then we got, I believe this is a whole hodgepodge of different people here. I can't remember which group here, but we got things such as Swamp Thing and Young Somethings, Cave Carson, and all the other stuff. And then it ends up with Doom Patrol and Justice League America again, all dealing with Milk Wars. And then we got probably something that's probably going to make people go boo because they didn't like how the story arc ended dealing with this character. But this is star number one, especially if you was reading Captain Marvel during that time. And then I got Death of the New Gods number one. And then we got Peach Momoko Storm number 6. Yeah, this Peach Momoko watercolor and everything. And I still stick by what I say about Peach Momoko. Not everything looks good in her style, but some of the stuff, is eye-catching. This was like one of the few eye-catching ones that I actually do like here. There's my Birds of Prey 19, which I still haven't received from Arkansas as of yet, but I got that from a different source. G.I. Joe 311 and the sketch version of 311. And then is the die cut one. And it's actually all of Cobra Commander's head. It's like there's a front and back for the die cut. But this is G.I. Joe number 1. I forgot what printing that is here. Surprisingly enough, I invested in issue number 2 only because it was like $2. Not just that, we got the original A cover as well, $2. So now to go along with House of Slaughter number 1, I got House of Slaughter number 2. I could read those 2 issues to see what the hype is about here. Another old one, but a good one, Mr. Miracle number 8. I was missing this one in my run here. So now the only ones that I'm missing in the Mr. Miracle run is like a lot of the later issues here in Mr. Miracle here. And then this is a book that I know I paid way too much for, but I'm happy that it's in my collection because it is one of the Marvel graphic novels that technically reprints the first issue pretty well, and that is first print the New Mutants. This is a first print. This is actually grade worthy for a graphic novel trying to get the glare out. I mean, it's like they show me the front and the back. And I mean, the back is like almost near flawless here. That book is somewhere between like a 9.2 to 9.6. It's not a 9.8. It's nowhere near a 9.8 because there's too many imperfections to make it a 9.8, but it is up there. This is another book that I'm kind of happy that I got it for less than $30. And I believe this is the 3rd copy I have of it too, because I'm about to get ready to send one of these to CGC to get it graded. This one I'm not, because even though the spine and stuff looks good, there's some discoloring. There is a chip. There's a chip and everything that's there. I'm not going to be happy if it comes back less than a 5.5. So I'm not going to do this one just yet. Maybe after some working and some pressing on it, maybe. It's Third Nubia. It's 206, the Third Nubia. And like I said, I'm going to show you guys. There's a small chip right there. If I could get into focus, there's a chip right there, and there's like, some rippling effect and some discoloring up there, and a little bit discoloring right along the spine there. So other than that, it's a very decent copy here. Another oldie but goodie, which I got for the low price of $45. And it probably is a series that most people don't think I would actually have actual issues in, but I have close to a full run of it. And that is the original Jack Kirby Demon. And this is Demon number 1. And I got that for $45 here. It's not in the best of condition here, but it presents very, very good. I mean, people got upset about, down here on the show that I was on. It was talking about that corner was really, really bad and the back was really, really bad. So they got it down to less than half price here. And then I'm going to show you this as a set too, because it is the beginnings of volume 8 of a certain character. And that certain character happens to be, you guessed it, Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. This is the beginning of volume 8, starting with issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, and issue 4. Her actual completed arc for Gang War, starting volume 8 there. And then we got the DC special number 2, The Return of Donna Troy. I think I already had one of these here. And the last book here is a and this one is kind of harder to get because this is a non-sponsored version of the book. But it is one of those giveaway books from 1984. It is Spider-Man and Power Pack done in cooperation with the National Committee for Prevention of Child Abuse here. So this is the non-sponsored one. Yeah, as you can tell, the sponsored ones in this box down here would tell you who is actually sponsoring the freebie for this issue. This one is a non-sponsored one. So this is kind of going to be one of the more rare ones to get here. And that is all. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all the new comic book pickups for the week here. That's all of them in a nutshell. So that is a lot of books. And there's more coming because why? As Parallax knows, a certain pirate has not sent me my books and stuff that he holds, mainly because he has been chew like Chewy Willy, and we got to give him a break on that. That's kind of like one of those things here. And I don't know who's been keeping up the scorecard as of yet, but I need a final count of all the Wendy books that was shown here, because it's kind of like how Beanie Lilith was saying. It's like, yeah, I kind of cheated because I knew that it was a mixture, that it was going to be more than 2 and more than 1 of all of these other things here. But for the meantime, I'm putting that book back in its top loader for the meantime. So with that being done, let me go ahead and get back to all the conversation, because I see that Elaine has popped in and everything, but I do know that everybody was saying here. So we got Milk Wars. Wars was either really, really good or really, really good-ish, or what the fuck did I just read? Yeah. Star is cool, but they, poop the bed and then stick the landing. And that's what I kind of felt within Captain Marvel, because it was interesting that they did a doppelganger of her. And the doppelganger, to me, was really where they would need to go with her, because the doppelganger was more powerful and was more likable, until she found out that it's like, oh, I've been lied to. I'm not the original. And they played that whole mind game. It's like, if I'm not the original, I'm just going to be evil. It's like, no, it's stupid. Yeah, as usual. Yep. Yeah, I like Star. They did her dirty, and they did her very dirty in Captain Marvel. They did her very dirty as far as how they ended up her arc. And I'm just like, it was just wrong. Yeah, Peach is very hit or miss. It's more for art style. It's more for art style than anything else. It's not. It's like, to me, she's not for every book, and she's not really meant for true superhero books per se. And then we got either amazing or why do people like this? I know why people like it, because again, you got too many people that love anime and manga and Asian influenced artwork. That's the reason why people like it. But for the books that she does covers for, it's not a good mesh. It really isn't. It really isn't. You know, for certain characters, it's just not worth it. House of Sorry, you should get the first arc. I'm not a big Something's Killing the Children fan, and I only got issue 1 because I wanted to know what was going on with the houses from the major houses standpoint. And it just still so happens that I still haven't read issue 1, so getting issue 2 kind of made sense. It's like, okay, read issue 1 and 2 and get a better understanding of whether or not I'm going to like it. Because again, most horror books I just don't get, and that's just my mindset about horror books, because everything that I read is not really horror. It's more of a chiller or thriller with some splashing in of gore. People don't know how to write true horror anymore. They really don't. And then the Mr. Miracle, yeah. That was a great price for that. You know, the little chip isn't terrible. Yeah, it was. I think the final price was like $27. $27 before shipping. So yeah. Yeah, Clean Press would make that 209 top notch here. Yeah, I has that Demon by Kirby is dope, and is Devil Dinosaur. Yeah, I have a Devil Dinosaur #1. That's another one that I have to clean and get pressed too. Oh, don't worry, Leia. I'm not staying. I just popped in to say hi. Hi. It's like, no, I invite you to hang out and talk. See, she don't mind you talking in the main chat here to this show, because it keeps things rolling along. But I don't know what it is about her and you and comic book spectrum. That's just it's just weird. It's, I has those. Yeah, I've still been dealing with KDP all day. Yeah, you've been dealing with KDP, and I'm going to get to the other stuff here. Yeah, I sent you the pick. Okay, and yep. When I could get them, when I could get certain promo books that should be worth, and I put it in quotation marks, should be worth, because they're not really worth all that much, but they should be, because they don't use them that often, and a lot of times they are often reprinted. And if you could get the first ones that came off the assembly line, you have a little something there to, to put the feather in your cap to a certain degree here. I clicked like, and I just wanted to see how, yeah, I'm doing all right here. And we're going to get into the accountability here in a moment. I just want to get through all the comments here. Yeah, he cheated. He's like, you're not fair. You cheated. I was like, I gave you a loaded question. Of course, I knew what was there. I'll check it when I leave the chat here, because I'm not at my desktop right now. Okay. Yeah, he will be out of the. It's like he will be out of the state the 26th until April 2nd. He is going to Arizona to bring back his last. Oh, really? Okay, I did not know that. Yeah, Star was just binary, or the binary. Technically, it was the binary force in a clone body, which made it interesting. Who cheated, Beanie? Oh, what the? No, LA. It was the thing. I put it out to them here because I showed them one Wonder Woman book. I was like, "Hey, can you guys guess how many more Wonder Woman books will be in this in this comic book pickup?" And they would say, oh, it's going to be like two new ones and maybe one old one that's in there. And I was like, maybe. And then it was like, yeah, all of these guesses. I keep going like maybe, but I didn't let them know exactly. Evening Virginia. Oh, I don't get it. I don't get it, but probably they do. But she's I just don't get it. I just don't get people. I just don't get people. An artist is a good artist nonetheless, but if she's attractive and all this other stuff, she's probably already got somebody first and foremost here, and the extra attention is not needed. Either buy her artwork because you like her artwork, but just don't fantasize and fetishize the artist. That's just me. BLC that yeah, she would actually do that. You made BD's day. And on $28 chocolate. For people who don't know, last year our booth was right across from a chocolatier. And Elaine and chocolates get along very well. They do get along very well until she actually saw the price. And the price was made her very, very sad. Not angry, but just sad. I was like, oh my God, she remembered the overpriced fudge. Yep, she remembered. It's not just the Tandy computer books, it's the electronics ones and all the other stuff because I grew up with those. Those were like some of the comic books that they allowed in school, and they actually had them in the classrooms for us to read from time to time. So that's how I know about them and grew up on them, and why I sometimes want to collect them, because somebody has to, you know, keep and try to preserve them as much as possible, because they will go away very more quickly than some of the other books that people buy at a comic book store. Why? Because those stores are not around anymore, and not a lot of people preserve those books. It's kind of like happenstance. It's like somebody come across a warehouse that used to be owned by a Radio Shack, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's this weird box of comic books? Oh, it says something about electronics. And I was like, yeah, give them to me. Give them to me. I'm giving them a good home. Yeah, because they were giving away for promos. It was more for school age kids to get more into electronics and science. Because he told me directly. But that fudge was good, just pricey. She knows because she was sad, and then she got happy because she ended up making enough money to get some. See, Beanie still has to figure out how to send a grilled cheese as of yet. Something that Unky Eyeball gets more often than I. Yes, it's the weekend of April 11th. That is correct. Tandy TRS 80. Yes, the TRS color computer 80. Yep, the color computer. Yep, 11th, 12th, and 13th. And my assistant and I are actually working out our shopping list. My first computer was a TRS 80. Says, I'm going to send the recipe. Sorry, I had to laugh at that because she spelled recipe just like how Hemi spelled recipe on his book in those videos. It's my recipe. Recipe. Yep, it is hammy. But nevertheless, it is time for the accountability portion here. I have completed all the graphic work for Primetime Saturday Night number 5. That's the reason why we got 5 on it, because we're going to be talking about issue 5. I am in the middle of lettering it now. I'm actually putting in the sound effects first before I port everything over into Illustrator, do the final lettering in Illustrator, and then put it in a PDF to send it off to Elaine. Elaine reads it, says, hey, dumbass, this bout doesn't make sense, or the commentator didn't make sense over here. You need to think about doing this, that, and the other, yada, 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 yada. She doesn't say that it's good. It's like, nope, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. That's what a good editor does. And then from there, make the changes and get it ready to send off to Kablam for printing here. Now, whether or not it'll be back in time for C2E2, we're keeping our fingers crossed here, because I'm probably going to have to do 2 separate orders. Order for backstock, which I know they could print up and send off real quick. But the newer stuff, I don't know, so I'm going to see what can be done here. But it is what it is for right now, and we're going to try to have it for C2E2. If not, it's still going to be made available. Issue 5, if it's not here by C2E2, what's going to end up happening is that we're probably going to end up running WhatNot shows to debut issue 5. Yes, I am foregoing any type of crowdfunding. If you've been keeping up with what's been going on, at least in this particular channel, and what I've been saying here about crowdfunding, it's not that I'm against crowdfunding. I'm not one of those people that say, oh, it sucks or anything like that. I just personally have not seen any real growth in crowdfunding our titles, meaning that we have not picked up really any new readers, nor have we picked up a lot more funding. We've been kind of like par for the course here. And the reason I'm foregoing is because what little money that we do get from crowdfunding is still about the same of what it would be if I had to come out of pocket to get the books printed. So if I'm not seeing like anything that's really helping us to grow, it seems like we're wasting time in vain to do it. I'm not saying that I'm not going to come back to crowdfunding, but I'm going to do crowdfunding a lot less. I might do it for only newer series and newer books that we put out there, but for Amazonian and Primetime Saturday Night, my initial thought now, since we're so far into those series, we're about to get ready to do issue 8 of Amazonia. We're about after this, issue 6 of Primetime Saturday Night. We're so far along that unless we had a particular audience there, a big particular audience there on the crowdfunding platforms, it doesn't serve a purpose here. My goal now would be more along the lines of selling it on WhatNot and getting people to come to the website to buy it directly from us at this point, and selling it at shows here. Eventually, the bigger master plan is still in effect here, and we're not there yet for the big master plan to work. We are about 5 issues away from Amazonia, and at least 7 more issues away from Primetime Saturday Night. And people probably like, what do you mean by 7 more, and 5 more? By the time we get to issue 12, 13, and 14 of those 2 titles, we will have enough issues to cover a year of distribution, which means that at that point, I can then reapproach people like Lunar and Penguin and all of these other distributors to find out what it needs to take for them to distribute the books to comic book stores. The reason to do it that way is that it gives me a year's time to actually produce more books without having to feel the pressures like what we're going to do about February, what we're going to do about March, what we're going to do about April. We have a year's cushion to keep the ball rolling here. And once that happens, and hopefully at that rate, I'll be close enough to retirement where I could focus in on doing comics as a true 9 to 5, where I don't have to worry about clocking in somebody else's clock. I could just come, get up, work on the books, get the stuff out, and keep pressing. Beyond that. But like I said, we need to get to issues 12 and 13 for each one of those series, and when we do that, I have the volume of books that I need, the volume of issues where we could at least do at least one full year with a distributor without having a second thought about what we're going to do for the next issue. Why? Because while those books are being sold in comic book stores, I'll be thinking about either issue 13, 14, or 15. We don't have to worry about that because everything has been set in stone, but that's where we're at here. What about pecan or pecan? Rant. Who's ranting? Why are you ranting, Beanie and Lils? I don't get that. Yay. Oh, I'm doing a random painting this week, so my week is open. Okay. So as soon as I finish the lettering, we get it to you. You make, like I said, everything is going to work like clockwork. Oh, they want me to rant. Well, we got a topic to kind of rant about here, but it's not really a good rant because we're not talking about any individual comics and stuff like that. It'll be more about the state of collecting, because I know I'm up here, I'm watching what all of these other YouTubers are saying and everything, and some I actually agree with. Some are actually truly wholeheartedly agree with. Like, for example, Reggie Collects just did a recent video that stated that, nowadays people don't know what a true key is. And I agree. People don't know what a true key comic is. And because of that, you got all these people talking about, oh yeah, the first time that Aquaman sneezes, you need to have that issue because it's the first time he sneezes. That's like, but that's not a key issue. That has no significance about the character itself. That has no key significance to anything other than the fact that he sneezed. And you're going to mark up the book from, where it would be like $1 book or $2 book to like a $20 book because he sneezes. Come on. That, again, to use Parallax's favorite book that we always talk about, the difference between Sensational She-Hulk 1 and Sensational She-Hulk 40. Why is 40 worth more than Sensational 1 and even Savage She-Hulk 1? 40 is not a truly key issue in that same aspect. What took place in that story is somewhat significant, but as she would say, the dude bros go goo goo gaga over the fact that, oh, she jumped roping Noon in that issue. It's like, no, she didn't. That tells me that you haven't read the issue. It was a gag. It was a gag to point out about the treatment of super heroines and the fact that, sexualization kind of helps sell those books. That was the whole point of the gag, to make her jump rope to give the guys that she was actually doing it naked. But it is what it is here. But that's kind of like one of those things here. But he presented the art very well, and I agree with him. It's like there's just too many firsts that doesn't make any sense. Like first cameo appearance, who cares? First time that they appear in a comic book. That's like, who cares about the first ad that they appeared in? Nobody is really saying that that is a key. That is not a key. Like, for example, the first appearance of Hellboy happened to be an ad on a poster on a wall in somebody else's title, and people go goo goo gaga over that. It's like, oh, I gotta get it because that's the first time Hellboy appears in the comics. It's like, technically that's not. It's just somebody happened to draw one of the characters that it was going to be in an up and coming comic on a poster for a wall. That does not mean that Hellboy actually made a origin story or had any significance in that issue. I mean, it's a nice point of history, but it's not a key comic. And that's where we kind of agree with it. It is what it is. So let me come back here. I know a lot of people was talking here. It's like, yeah, well, after the craptastic day, I'm going to call it a day. Oh, okay. And it's like night being night. Yep. You keep forgetting about Lils. Lils is with them too. So it's Beanie, Lils, Leia, myself. Then there's Matthew McHale and there's Tori. So it's a whole bunch of us here talking here. So yeah, like Malibu Sun BS. Yep. Yeah, and the fact that Jessica Cruz's arm appears 8 issues before her actual appearance, and again, that does not make it a key issue. A key issue has significance to either the character itself, whether it be an origin story or a change in that character, where a mantle is passed and stuff to that magnitude. Those are key issues, or something that's significant that changes the trajectory of that character. Not everything is a key issue. It's like, oh, it's a key issue because Captain America's uniform went from blue to black. Yeah, he became the captain, but that's not, something that should drive up a price for a book here. And understanding that speaks volumes here. And then other things, about, how sales are going and people and scamming and everything. And I just don't know. To me, it's just, I want to get to the point where collecting comics now does not get splintered. And when I say splintered, it's like the perfect example is like, let's look at Star Wars fans. Star Wars to me is a very splintered fan base, mainly because they say that they like Star Wars, but they only like specific pockets of it. And if you don't like that specific pocket, then you're not a true fan, and this, that, and the other. And just all these little bitty micro groups that builds up to the bigger collective whole, but yet nobody gets along with anyone. And I don't want that to happen for comics in general. I mean, there's always room at the table for everybody with comics here, but here we go, because of the way that we're treating modern speculation. And I always talk about modern speculation as opposed to just speculation as a whole. And people keep wondering why I keep saying the term modern. It's mainly because with comic books, there's going to be speculation no matter what. Speculation in comics is really, if you go back to the original way that Marvel presented it and some of the older publishers had presented it, the way that they look at speculation back in the day was staying power. Are we writing good enough stories where people are following the characters? Are they loving the characters? Are they loving what we're writing? Are they truly following the trajectory of where we're going with all these characters, the universe that we settle in, and all this other stuff? And they project based upon that data of whether or not something could be valuable long term. Like, for example, after they did so many issues of, let's just say, Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, they could gauge speculation on, oh yeah, people are loving Craven the Hunter, the Craven Last Hunt. We got a hit of a book here. We could see that storyline and those issues gain price bumps because people are loving the title. Unlike today, the book doesn't even have to be good. Just because a well-known artist did a cover, that book gets speculated on. Or the title happens to be used for a possible prospectus for a TV show. And then people are speculating that because the TV show is coming out or is popular, that the comic books will be popular. And that's not the case, because it's two different audiences altogether. That's the reason why I don't like modern speculation, because a lot of modern speculation is dealing with everything outside of the comic itself. Like, who's doing the cover? Who's doing the cover? If the cover is done by a well-known artist, what type of a gimmick is on the cover, and this, that, and the other. Is this, are they going to make a movie or TV series out of it? Is it a video game title? Stuff to that matter. It's like, the video game is very popular. People are going to come to this book. It's like, no, it's not. I mean, people keep forgetting about history. Walking Dead was out for more than a decade before AMC made it into a TV series. And then after the TV series was going on, there was not truly a heavy spike in the book prices for Walking Dead. The real spike for Walking Dead books came after the fact that they ended the series. And when they ended the series and started to go back and do deluxe edition, that's when the original run started to spike big time. Did the TV show help? Yes. But it wasn't the sole reason why those books got speculated. Another example, Saga. The rumors about a Saga TV series did not cause the Saga series to spike. People liked that series, and the fact that it went on hiatus caused it to spike. But people look at modern speculation the wrong way. They want to apply something that may seem logical, but does not have any direct effect on the book itself. Everybody wants to say, oh yeah, there's going to be a new Superman movie. People are going to flock to this book because that villain is in these books. Not necessarily. The only people who care about those books and the villain that's in those books will be those who are already collecting comics. That moviegoer doesn't care. And the movie may not, and I want to emphasize this, and you guys can say I could get ranty with this. The movie may not convert him over to a comic book reader. I could tell you how many times that modern speculators are talking about, oh, people love this movie and this, that, and the other, but that does not convert them over to a comic book reader for that particular title or subject. It doesn't. The audience are two different things here. And this is why I always try to tell modern speculators, like, guess what? For people to get a real gauge on true speculation, stop focusing in on other audiences. Focus in on what we as collectors are doing. Because if we're not going out there and looking for these books, don't expect another audience to be doing so. If somebody, all these TV goers and they come out with another, comic book series on television, those TV show goers are not going to automatically come to a comic book store to look for those books. To convert those people is going to take a person like you, me, or somebody else who's been collecting for years who might happen to like that series to talk to them and open up the door for that avenue to go down. But on their own, no. They're happy with what's going on television. They don't care. And that's the thing here. We like what we like. We, as a comic book collector, may partake in TV shows and movies and enjoy them, but we're still going to love our comic books. We're going to go out and get the next one and still read our next comic book. Those who love movies and happen to like a comic book title, they're going to like that comic book title, but it's not going to make them go and get the comic books. What it's going to make them do is, like, if they do a sequel to that comic book title in a movie form, they're going to go out to see that next movie. Why? Because that's the genre that they love. But yet, people don't get that modern speculation is flawed in that aspect here. It's like, but people can cross mediums easily. It's like they could cross mediums, but the fan base does not always cross over. For a fan base to cross over to a different medium here, it has to be something that they enjoy or like or become an uber fan of. Think about it. Let's look at the anime crowd. With as popular as My Hero Academia is, why hasn't those fans come over to American comic style for superhero books? Here's the problem. Here's why. My Hero Academia is told in such a way that it has more slice of life than what most American comics portray in an actual story. Both sides pretty much do the exact same thing. Has a hero, has an antagonist. Hero goes after the antagonist, hero's journey, all this other stuff. But on the anime side of things, they do a lot more with slice of life, which we kind of got away from in certain comic book titles now. This is one of the reasons why if I was to give like a person who are into anime or manga any type of American comic book, my first choices would probably be like Ditko Spider-Man or Claremont Byrne, X-Men. Not the newer modern stuff that's coming out. It would be a lot of the older stuff. Like Kirby Fantastic Four. Or early like Wonder Woman. In their eyes, those stories would come out corny, but at the same time, they would get a lot more enjoyment out of it because it had more of a slice of life. It dealt with how those characters respond to everyday living, just like how they were reading in their manga books or how it was being shown in anime. It's a hard convincing to get that audience to cross over. Now, is it a hard thing to get American comic book readers over to manga and anime? It's just as hard. It's just as hard because what we're accustomed to for American style comics, we find kind of tedious in manga. Because again, in manga, you have that slice of life aspect of it. We here on the American comic book side would see some of their pages as, why are we getting, books where most of the issue is talking heads. You know, in other words, exposition. And that's one of the things that I frown upon because of the simple fact that a lot of comic book readers, at least modern comic book readers, don't know what a truly talking head page actually represents or actually is. They will say anything that's dealing with exposition is talking heads. I was like, no. This is one of the reasons why. Perfect example, and I know Parallax could vouch for this. I started reading Satellite Sound, and to me, Matt Fraction's comic books are full of exposition, but it does come off as talking head because of the simple fact that a lot of the information that's being portrayed does not need to be in the story per se. It sets up a lot of the mood. It set up a lot of what this might happen later on down the line. But instead of keeping it short, sweet, and to the point, we have page upon page upon page of conversation that really is overkill. Is that exposition needed? Yes. To the degree that he doesn't, no. Especially in Satellite Sound, he doesn't need a lot of the extra stuff that's going on behind, like what's going on with the network and all the other stuff. We needed only the stuff that was corresponding to the son's investigation about how his father died and all the different women and stuff that was in his life at that time when he was doing the main character Satellite Sound. That's the bigger part of it than anything else. And for those who really want to know what a talking head page really is about, a talking head page is when you're telling the reader what is going on instead of showing. Like, for example, the character who is the main focus that's doing an action is off page. And you have your supporting characters talking about, oh, that was a devastating blow that Superman gave to Doomsday. Is like Lois Lane is like, oh man, look at that devastating blow that Superman gave to Doomsday. Oh my good, he almost tore his head off. Instead of showing the punch and showing that type of stuff. That's what a talking head moment really is. When you could have shown it as opposed to tell people about it. Now, it does happen from time to time, and even in some of the classic books, like in Fantastic Four, it happens sometimes in the Fantastic Four, but it really depends on the culture at the time and who's doing what. Because sometimes it's like, I know in Fantastic Four, some of the actions where Sue Storm actually got into a fight, they kept it off panel, mainly because it was not. It was mainly because of the culture, because again, you don't want to show, women being overly aggressive, but that was the day and age that it was. And I remember there were certain panels where, Ben and Johnny would say, I was like, ooh, Sue really gave him one, and this, that, and the other. I was like, no, show us what Sue did. But yet, as the time went along, it became more and more acceptable to show what women can do. We actually see it now, but when we still got writers, and like I said, I'm not really picking on Matt Fraction, but that was just the first book that I thought of, which was Satellite Sound, where he literally does the talking head type deal when it came down to what was going on with the network. And when I say network, I talk about a television network. The boardroom scenes and all the other stuff where it was just like, instead of showing us what was going on, it's just like, it was just conversation that was going nowhere. But it is what it is here. So let me go, deal with the topic here. It's like, yeah, Wolverine is in Hulk 180. Venom was in 299. Carnage, even more so, even worse than that. First appearance of Wolverine was in, I forgot whatever the book it was. He was in an advertisement for 181 that happened 2 months prior. So even before 180 even came about, he was in an advertisement for 181 that was coming out 2 months before and actually was printed before 180. Those are the types of things, speculation wise, that we just don't need. We just don't need that type of stuff. It's like, why would we care? Yeah, I don't care what anybody says. It is what it is. Everyone that everyone that Comic Con 101 BS, like, oh my God, Superman new boots because of the Inker Druid. Oh, perfect. Another perfect example. If you can remember this, Clyde made a big deal about they changed the Satana's pumps from black to white. That up under modern speculation would be a big thing. Oh, it was the first time that I heard pumps went from black to white. Who cares? It's still Satana. That's not a means. Yeah, the Daredevil ad. Yep. And people would argue that's the first appearance of Wolverine. It's like, it's an advertisement for 181, and he happened to be. They used the actual cover, and he's prominently on the cover, and that's, you want to consider that his first appearance? Time out. Hold on. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. But it's one of those things that it's why I pick on modern speculation, because modern speculation is ruining values of comics before it's really is tried and tested, just because of hype train type stuff and trying to get more money than what the book is worth, especially for stuff that is coming out within like the last 5 years. It really is tiresome in that aspect to go in a comic book store for issue 1 of a brand new title, and they run out of it and they say, well, we have to get it on back order for you, and to go into the same store 2 weeks later, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, that number 1 now is like $30 because of speculative hype. And then the other thing, speculation wise, that I hate it with a passion. The second and third printing is worth more because it's limited. Okay. Explain that to me. Because with any type of manuscript, book, or any type of recorded story, the original outweighs any copy. If something goes to a second print, it drives up the value of the first printing. It shouldn't be that the second printing is worth more because there's fewer of them than the first printing. No, doesn't work that way. It was just that much of a demand for that particular issue that they have to do a second print of it. Now, this comes back to that manufactured rarity bullshit that we have in modern speculation. So what? There was only 20,000 of the second printing done and 10,000 of the third printing. The supply and demand for that issue overturns that aspect of it. You're only making that a point of hype or point of speculation because you're trying to drive the value of that second or third print up by harping about how rare it will become later on down the line. And that shouldn't be the case here. The simple fact that it's a number 1 should be the case. Point an example. How many reprints did we have of X-Men number 1? Fantastic Four number 1? Spider-Man number 1? we got, Superman #1. How many reprints do we have? We have a lot of them. Second, third, fourth, fifth, so many of them. What printing has the biggest value? The first printing. Why? Because it is the more sought after version of it. The other ones are easier to come by. It might hold the same value when it comes to your own personal evaluation of having one, but at the same time, that first printing is going to be always worth more. But I never understood that here. Give me a second here. Yeah, that is bullshit of the highest order. Anything a reprint is always worth less. Books, cars, toys. Exactly. The 40th anniversary of Optimus Prime is not worth as much as the original in box. Thank you. Thank you. It's just like I said, it's a marketing ploy to inflate the value of the book that just came out, which to me it blows my mind here, and it also shows the gullibility of people more so than anything else here. Yeah, like Fantastic Four in the statue with the rare, yeah, but it's not worth more than the original 1961. Thank you. Oh yeah, you know what I never understood. Oh, the Canadian price variant worth more or less. The Canadian are worth more. They are less. No, the Canadian. Here's what I'm going to say when we get into the foreign books. The foreign books normally comes out years later, except for Canadian price variants. Canadian price variants normally come out right around the same time, same print run, same print run time for the regular books here. But a lot of foreign stuff comes out a lot later. Those foreign books are still not as worth as more as the original books. The Canadian price variant, if anything, would kind of throw the, if I could say, metric off as far as how you would price the original versus that one, because technically it's not even a facsimile, it's considered part of the same print run. But it comes off as whether or not you consider the Canadian price variant to be a true variant or part of the same print run. If it's part of the same print run, then it should carry the same value as the original. But if you consider it as a variant, guess what? Should never, ever, 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 ever have the same value as the original. So they got to make up their mind here. The Canadian price variant, is it part of the original print run? If so, it carries the same value. If it's not, sorry, Charlie, not going to happen. Not going to be the same price. Yeah, why are there Silver Age keys in pence format worth less than? Yeah, so why are there silver? They're supposed to be worth less because those pence ones were printed after. Again, this is coming back to why. How can I put this? If they would have kept up with print runs, actual documented print runs, we would know beyond a shadow of a doubt when certain books were printed and on what run that they were printed on. in most cases, the pence format ones were printed anywhere from months to years after the original one. So for it to be worth more is BS. I call BS on it because of the simple fact that just because it has pence on it does not make it worth more. It came after. It would almost be considered a reprint. Now, the Canadian ones, I don't know because of the simple fact that I remember books back in the late 80s, early 90s that have both the Canadian price and the US price on it, which typically means that those books were on the same print run. Early 80s, 1970s, I don't know if they were truly variants or not. I believe it may have been the same print run and that they did the Canadian price as a variant. And if they did it as a variant on the same print run, it really comes back down to how do you evaluate that? Are they the exact same books? Or do we truly treat it as a cover variant? It's the same stupid stuff that we have to deal with Mark Jewelers. Mark Jewelers was pretty much a print run that were made for the armed forces. Do we treat them really different from the original since they are on the kind of like the same print run, or are they really variants? And if they really are variants, why are these variants worth more? Because it doesn't make any sense for a Mark Jewelers variant to be worth more than the original book, especially for the older books here. But again, now those are the questions that we have to look up because everybody wants to say scarcity, scarcity, rarity, scarcity, rarity, scarcity. It's like, okay, as years go further and further out, and we don't have actual print run totals, we don't know what truly is scarce and what is truly is not. Only the publisher knows. And most publishers not going to make that record official. Because if they did, then the way that we look at comic book collecting changes a hell of a lot. But let me get back to some of the things that were said here, because there's a lot of stuff here. It's not a variant, just like a newsstand is not a variant. That's why I said that's that quirkiness. That's that quirkiness. And you want to know something? Since you want to bring it up that way, newsstands can't be a variant. Newsstands would always have to be treated as the original. Why? Because the direct market came after newsstands. So if anything, if we want to look at history in its entirety, if we look at comics in its history in its entirety, anything that's direct market would be the variant in that aspect here. Same print run, direct market stamped issues would be considered the variant because newsstands was in existence prior to direct market. But now I have to defer to people who are more elder than I. This would be something that I would, and if they are watching here or they're watching in a replay or somebody who knows to watch it in a replay, this would be something that I would ask people such as Brian K. Morris, Randy Zimmerman, people who have actually been in the industry a heck of a lot longer than I have been retailers a lot longer than I'm not a retailer, by the way, but have done the retailing a lot longer than I have, who have been in the age where newsstands were in existence and direct marketing happened, to honestly to be able to confirm nor or deny what I'm telling you here. But but looking at the bigger history, if that is the case here, newsstands can never be considered a variant because direct market happened after. Everything was newsstand. 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, everything was pretty much newsstand. That's how people got their comics. It wasn't until around the 1960s, 1970s that direct market came into play. Actually, to be more accurate, 1970s. Direct market came into play. When direct market came into play, would you consider those books that were stamped for direct market the variant? It's a good fair question to ask. And I'm glad that you brought it up that way, because you kind of make me thought here. It's like, yeah, you're right. Newsstand wouldn't be the variant because newsstand existed before direct market. It is what it is. Canadian Price and newsstands are the same print run. Even though it's the same print run, it could. That's why I say technically it would be considered a cover variant, just like with the print runs for modern comics today. You could have the A cover, B cover, C cover, and E cover, all the same print run. All the same print run. The print run would probably be, to give you a better understanding. Let's pick one of my books. Let's just say like AWF #1. If I was to, go through a distribution thing here, AWF #1, I could theoretically do a print run of 50,000 books. And out of those 50,000 books, I could do 40,000 cover A, 10,000, 5,000 cover B, 2,500 cover C, and 2,500 cover D's to cover that 50,000 copy print run. The print run is 50,000. The only difference is cover variants of that 50,000. If we go back in the day when direct market first happened, it would be more or less, do we consider the Canadian Price variant and the direct market stamps cover variants? Up under today's terms, we kind of have to, but it really wasn't viewed that way. They were viewed because they were viewed as different products. Now, if they're viewed as different products, how would they be of the same print run? It's that convolutedness that goes into play here. And it's a difference in looking at how things were produced back then as opposed to how things are produced now. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I actually believe that you're more correct than anything else. But why is it that modern speculation shunned or moved away from this? That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me here. Yeah, just like the Silver Age pence were printed with the cents version. In some cases, not in all. In some cases they were. Not in all. Some of the pence books came after, separate print run. Not all, but some. But most, I would say most Bronze Age were separate. Silver was weird. And the reason why I say some of the silver was weird, because they actually printed stickers to put on top of the cent ones and ship them out. But again, that would be something that I would have to bring in somebody like Randy Zimmerman or Brian K. Morris, or even people like Glenn Fleming, who was over there in Great Britain, who was collecting comics back then, who would know, who could tell me, how it was when they were collecting comics during their childhood and what type of stickers that they would put over it, whether or not it was considered a separate print run and stuff to that magnitude. This is where you have to know the people who were there during that time to truly know, beyond a shadow of a doubt here. Yep, on the same off-press printers. Yep. No, there's like 9 pence ASM and were printed with the 12 cents in the States. Right, because they shipped them. They shipped them. I'm not saying that every last one of them. I didn't say that. I didn't say every last one of them were printed in a separate print run. I just said most of what we know as pence copies, especially in the Bronze Age, were separate print runs. But that also goes back to what I was saying about the Canadian print. Canadian print was all in the same print run. Yep. Yeah, 1980s, 1990s, they had dual pricing. That is correct. Yeah, towards the end of the print run, they pulled the newsstands. They pulled the newsstands instead of Spidey, and some of them they had altered the price box to reflect the. Yeah, yep, that is fact. That is 100% fact here. False rarity and false scarcity. Mm-hmm. Dazzler 1 was Marvel's first direct. That was Marvel's first direct market. I forgot what DC's was. I forgot what DC was. But yeah, Dazzler 1 was Marvel's first direct market book. That was Marvel's first direct book. No newsstands. Yep. Exactly here. So that is a lot of history to cover. That is a lot of history to cover. And if you're not familiar with that, if you go far enough back, it becomes convoluted. It becomes cloudy. And I'm glad that you brought up some of the facts here because you're spot on. If the Canadian price variant, the newsstand, the direct market, and if you go far enough back out to the Silver Age, even the pence version were all printed in the same print run. By today's standards, they would be considered cover variants. And if they are cover variants, that would mean that the newsstand version will always reign king, which means that that newsstand version should be the most valuable, followed by direct market, and then the Canadian pence, depending on how many were printed up of those. But that's understanding print run, understanding how the sheer number of issues printed works into speculation of the issue, which is a lot of things that modern speculators don't get. They get the gist, I shouldn't say the gist, they get the general idea and the general practice. But like most things that happen nowadays, they don't understand the full context of a lot of the things that they're trying to speculate on. You don't spec on movies, you don't spec on TV. You do spec on popularity of the series. You do spec on number of sales. You do spec on things that have been measured within the comic book community itself. You can't really count on crossover audiences. Why? Because most comic book sales is solely based upon sales by those who actually buy and read the product. And if you're not buying and reading the product, then you wouldn't be in that equation for speculation. And that's the real problem in the nutshell with modern speculation. So that's why I always preference, I'm not against speculation. I'm against modern speculation. I'm against those who want to apply, oh, well, this book is about to have a movie, and the movie is going to bring attention to the movie going audience. However, that movie going audience may not have a crossover back to the books. If moviegoers love the topic and love what they did with that movie, guess what? They're going to be clamoring, waiting for that next movie on the same topic or the same title. They're not always going to flock back to the source material. And that's part of the problem here. That's always part of the problem. I mean, look, I guess the best way to put it, and Parallax, you probably would agree with me with this here. And it took me a while to understand exactly what this musician friend that I know, shout outs to D-Nick if he's watching. He always equates things back to the music industry, because the music industry has been out there a lot longer, has gone through a lot of these problems that the comic book side hasn't gone through. And he equates this back to when it comes to like source material. Music gets reused a lot of time, the same, melodies, backbeats, and stuff to that magnitude gets used a lot. But people who enjoy the music from a particular artist may not always go back to the artist who did it before them. Like an example, it's like those who love Alien Ant Farm is not going to always going to go back to listen to Michael Jackson's version of Smooth Criminal. That's the source material that came from. Those audiences may not cross over well because, one, they did it in their style. Michael Jackson did it in his genre. It doesn't always cross over. So always expecting people who enjoy something in one format to cross over, to go back to look at the source material, it's not always going to happen here. It's not always going to happen. It has to be something. It has to be something unique, or it has to reach out to them. It has to be something that they truly enjoy to make them go back to the source material. In a way, it's kind of like how Elaine always rants about the Lord of the Rings. She knows that source material like the back of her hand. But because she knows that source material so well, it hurts her from enjoying everything that they're doing in movie and television. Now, somebody who loves the TV and the movies probably go back to the source material of the novels and everything would be like, no, this is not for me. The crossover is not guaranteed. Never is. Yep. No. Yep. And that's the key thing. That's the key thing when it comes down to this type of stuff. Now, I don't badmouth anybody's opinion, especially fellow YouTubers and everything. I listen to it. And I want to hear them out. I want to hear them out. I want to hear why they feel the way that they feel. And a lot of times we agree on a lot of stuff, and then we have to agree to disagree. The ones that I pay the most attention to, we agree to disagree, but they have logic behind it. They have data behind why they say what they say. Now, the ones that I don't get along with are the ones that go based upon feeling. And this is what they believe. And I was like, no, there's too much data out there that shows that you're wrong and you're dead wrong. But keep that feeling the way that you have here, because I cannot change how you feel. Don't expect to. Only thing I could do is present what is there and how it truly does affect those who buy, those who read, and those who enjoy this hobby. And as a person who actually writes and produce comics. I have to see all sides of it. If I don't see all sides of it, I cannot produce a good comic book. It becomes more or less I'm writing something that I like, as opposed to I'm writing something for everybody to enjoy. Big difference. And maybe that is the problem with some of the more modern comic books here. Maybe we're being overly selfish that we're writing only stuff that we enjoy. However, we should be writing for everybody to enjoy. But it is what it is here. I hate the third print is worth more. No, it's not. and again, that's the whole argument about fake rarity. Yeah, that third printing had a smaller print run than all the other print runs per se. But it's a print run that was not meant to be counted as a print run for something unique. It's a reprint of the original. Again, that's going back to saying like I don't know why I'm picking on First Punisher. That's just like saying the Marvel Tales reprinting of the first Punisher in Amazing Spider-Man is worth more than the original appearance in Amazing Spider-Man. It's not going to happen. It's a completely separate print run. The thing here is reprinting a story that was in demand and popular. Now, during the time that they reprinted it, it may not have had the speculation value that we have near and dear to our hearts today. But it does not change the fact that the original is worth more. Now, one of these days, we're going to eventually get into the rant that I went into a couple. It's been several months here, and I started it and I let it go. But maybe I need not to let it go here. Maybe I need to go stronger on that rant, and that is popularity and bias. And the reason why I go based upon that because it's not really a rant about speculation per se, but if we go into hold modern speculations feet to the fire about rarity, or I shouldn't say rarity because rarity comics are not truly rare. That's one of the things that I agree with Brian Gordon from Bry's Comics. A lot of comic books are not rare. I believe in scarcity. And to be quite honest, the reason why I stopped my rent short the last time is because I have to go back and look at those numbers with a diehard if scope to detail, to be quite honest here. And for those who've been there on this show, where I talked about how come my Wonder Woman #9 from 1945 is worth less than X-Men #1 from 1963. And it's not based upon my fandom for Wonder Woman. It's not based upon my fandom for X-Men. And even I stated it back then, it's like X-Men is more popular than Wonder Woman. But it doesn't explain why scarcity-wise, my Wonder Woman #9 should be worth more money than my X-Men 1. And what makes it even worse is that my Wonder Woman 9 is of a higher grade than my X-Men #1 from 1963. And the bad thing about it is that my X-Men #1 from 1963 is almost 3 times more valuable on today's market than that Wonder Woman 9. But that's a rant for a different day. And the reason it's a different day because I want to delve into those numbers. I want to delve on how many are actually on all of these different census from CBCS, CGC, and everything. And we're going to look at pure data. No emotion. No, oh, this book is more popular than that. We're going to look at it for what I consider should be the main factor, which is scarcity. Because a book is scarce and not easily find or rarely available, it would drive up that price a lot once demand is placed on it. And I know everybody's saying it's like, well, not everybody wants Wonder Woman. It's like, surprisingly enough, you'd be surprised of how many Wonder Woman collectors out there like myself up here chomping at the bit to try to find these older books. But they're few and far between. Not too many of them are going out there to auction at like Heritage. Not too many of them are going out there to WhatNot and all these other platforms to be sold. So where are they? They're not completely lost to time. So either they're really just that scarce and people are holding on to them, or there's some other force behind why those books are not marked as valuable like they should be, mainly because of BS popularity. But like I said, that's a topic for a different time here. That's something that, like I said, without having the data in front of you and without showing you the data to correlate what I'm talking about, you probably just won't get it, because it would get more down to, hey, it's like people are being emotional, you being overly emotional. It's like, I know that you're a Wonder Woman fan. It's like, yeah, but let's look at the data. I mean, I could give you a perfect example. You know, ASM 300. There's too many of those issues flowing out there for that book to be more valuable than a lot of the older books that are out there. Is it because of popularity? Not necessarily. Is it because of demand? No, because there's more than enough of those books around for people to get one. Then why? I believe it is the speculative aspect of people being in emotion as opposed to understanding the actual numbers. 300 ASM 300 is not as scarce as people think it is. I would actually put it out there that a lot of books that people are saying that is scarce are not as scarce as what they think they are. Now, from smaller publishers, yes, but from like the big three or the big four, not as much. But it is what it is here. And we got, there's nothing scarce about ASM 300. Yeah, it was printed in the shooter era of 300K average sales. So there's a lot of them out there. And then, the whole FOMO type thing about not being able to get, a 10 or a 9.9 or a 9.8 plays a factor. But like I said, that gives it to the more emotional aspect of it instead of the pure hard data. And it's like, you know what? If you really want to get a good copy of ASM 300, we need to stop falling for the hype train. That's just pretty much what it's going to boil back down to. We're on too much of this FOMO hype train to pay too much money than what we have to. Not Spider-Man 1 or X-Force 1 level of printing, but there's plenty of copies for everyone to have. Oh yeah. Oh, well, yeah, Spider-Man 1, X-Force 1, and X-Men 1. And when I say X-Men 1, we're talking about 1993. X-Men 1. There's more enough of those going around that everybody could get one. And then X-Force 1 is definitely, you know, dollar bin father FODDR father than anything else, only because of the stupid Deadpool card. I mean, it is what it is. It's just it is what it is. But that, like I said, it goes back down to knowing the data and knowing the what's out there, what has been recorded. Again, why it's so important for print runs to be known. Because if print runs was known, a lot of these books that people are saying that are worth a whole bunch of money right now, the books will fall dramatically. They'll probably fall back down to the levels which they're supposed to be back when Overstreet was king and we was getting Overstreet updates once or twice a year. It would make it would make things such as GP analysis and Go Collect a waste of time. But I don't consider Go Collect and GP analysis a waste of time. But the thing here is that if we knew all of the data as far as how many are actually in existence or was printed into existence, things would change. The value of the books would change dramatically in a heartbeat. Why do you hate GPA analysis? Well, I guess I understand why you would hate it, because GPA analysis only does graded books. Go Collect does both, I believe. But GPA analysis only focus in on graded books. But again, that's the whole thing. Now we're getting into a whole nother argument about graded versus raw and all the other stuff here. But it is what it is. You have to read it as that, yeah. Okay, I get it here. Well, gang, we're almost at our 2 hour mark. See what happens when you get me to ranting? Time flies too quickly. Besides, I need to get me a snack and everything, get back on to layering primetime Saturday night #5 and get this stuff ready to send out to print here. So on that note, I hope that you guys have a good rest of your Saturday, unless you're on the East Coast, because why? You're already in Sunday. Well, actually got a few moments here because I want to give you a couple of minutes before it hits Sunday over there. But nevertheless, here, I wish you guys the best for the rest of this weekend here. I see you guys next Saturday. Hopefully we can find something a little bit better and more happy and cheerful here. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed, because I'm still waiting for my Darkwing Duck from Dynamite Entertainment from the Kickstarter, because they got my money. They finally acknowledged my backer kit and everything, and I still haven't received it as of yet. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I keep my fingers crossed here. I understand. There are a bigger corporation now, and things move a lot slower, but I believe that I will eventually get my books. But until then, live life, grow, and be well. And we are out of here for another weekend here. See you later. Oh, by the way, next week we have another WhatNot show. So 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to be up here selling books. The books behind me as right now will be off of that rack. We already have the books that we're selling here. Don't forget about the Hope Pack books that we're going to be selling, and the majority of the stuff you don't have to be on the show to buy. A lot of it is in the buy it now. If you go up under the profile for me, which is Sailboat on WhatNot, you can always buy books directly that way. That's available for purchase. We're not really doing a whole bunch of $1 auctions, but we're just selling books the best that we can based upon our buy it now. So until next week, I'm out of here. Laters.